You can chew. Okay.
Okay.
Probably can't hear it anyway.
That's probably not true at all.
All right. Hi, everybody.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to M&K Unscripted. Today, we are talking about ministry and M&Ms.
With a special guest.
Which we are very excited about.
Would you like to introduce yourself, Jason?
Sure, I'm happy to do that. I'm Jason. I'm a youth minister in an undisclosed location.
Yes.
Because I had to sign the NDA.
Very secretive. We're actually in a basement right now.
It was cozy, and then y'all said the fireplace was making too much noise.
And it's still making noise even though it's off.
Yes.
At least it's not like the Home Alone, like, basement fireplace. You know what I'm talking? Have you ever seen Home Alone? Or is that?
Yeah.
No,
like
you haven't.
No, I have.
I don't know what
Why
you're
would I
talking about.
lie?
You've never seen Home Alone?
No, I have. I just don't know what you're talking about.
Is
like
that
where he goes into the basement and like the fireplace opens up and he thinks it's like real.
Bruh. Have you never seen this?
Christmas was like 2 weeks ago and you haven't seen Home Alone.
No, I haven't. No.
Okay.
I've probably seen Home Alone like once.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's not scary. This basement's safe.
No, it's very cozy.
What did you say about before we started recording about the pairing of your M&M with your
Yeah, I love M&Ms, and honestly, don't get me wrong, like chocolate M&Ms are great, but peanut M&Ms are by far like supreme in my book.
Ooh.
But I will say, like, M&Ms and bourbon are a no-go. Those do not work together at all. So I think I'm done with the M&Ms for tonight.
That's fine.
Ooh. Yeah, I really like. I think you were talking about them earlier.
The Cookie Crisp ones.
Yes.
Yeah, those.
Is that the light blue ones?
It's the light blue ones.
Oh, you
I
like
think
those.
Santa brought me light blue M&Ms this year, right?
Ooh.
Right? I don't know if Santa brought me, but
Santa.
Maybe you would know.
Maybe you would know.
Santa's. Hey, like, if you don't believe in Santa, like, you gotta risk what you're not gonna get. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess. I also really like the caramel ones.
Nope.
What?
Oh.
Nope.
See, I'm not a huge fan of caramel.
What?
So M&M is super interesting. Like, there's times where it's super fakey, and you can tell it's like cheap, not good for you chocolate. And there's other times it's like, this is awesome. Like the holiday M&Ms are far better than just the generic, like, regular M&Ms. So like the Christmas ones with the red 40 in it, like the red and green, and then like the Easter ones.
Oh.
Like, hold up! How do you know all this?
Jason
I'm kind
is
of
an
an
M&M
M&M
connoisseur.
aficionado. Yeah.
Wow.
What?
Yeah.
I'm learning so much.
Is that why you wanted M&Ms on the podcast today?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I do like M&M. Although I wouldn't say it's my favorite candy in the whole wide world either.
That's fair. How do you feel about peanut butter M&Ms?
Nope. It's got to be Reese's Pieces.
Okay.
If we're gonna do peanut butter M&Ms, it's got to be Reese's Pieces.
That was going to be my question because I like peanut butter M&Ms, but I like Reese's Pieces better.
Yes. That's legitimate.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think Reese's Pieces are M&Ms though.
No,
but they have the shell. It's the same concept.
It's the same vibe.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what's actually? I think my wife really likes these. It's the mint M&Ms.
They have mint M&Ms?
What?
Like, and ever since, like, we take trips to the Mall of America. So like one of the events I'd like to do with youth ministry is our Where's Waldo hunt, and so it always places me at the Mall of America once a year. And every like time we go to Mall of America, I can never find the mint M&Ms. Like, they're just like, I don't know if they're seasonal or like hard to come by, but they literally taste like a dinner mint. It's awesome.
Oh, that sounds yummy.
Like after like Olive Garden.
Oh,
I
love those Andes.
I just went to Olive Garden. Man, if I could buy those mints, I would.
Yeah.
Do they have them?
Well, Andy's.
Yeah.
So Olive Garden is literally Andy's mints, which is very different than M&M mints. But like, I'm thinking like like a bougie Italian restaurant, and you get like the hard shell, like little chocolate mints.
Yes.
Like that's what I think of. Like they are that good. But sometimes when you just buy a bag of M&Ms, like, wow, this is just like subpar at best.
Yeah. Usually I just go with the classic unless I'm.
There's nothing wrong with a good classic.
Feeling adventurous, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Which apparently tonight I was not because I got those. I was like,
classic is good. We like classic.
Well, I didn't know. I didn't want to choose the wrong ones. That's why we had to have this discussion. You know.
Oh yeah, that's really important. Yeah.
So if I would have gotten peanut butter M&Ms.
Although there was once upon a time where M&M had pretzel, and that was interesting.
Ooh.
Not like
that
not
sounds good though.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible.
Uh-huh.
Like it was interesting. Like that would be the language I'd use. It's not like
That's fair.
Yeah.
I feel like we've been talking a lot about M&Ms. I think we should transition.
We can transition to the
We could talk about M&Ms for a long time.
Yeah, we could.
Apparently I'm an M&M M&M. Mom spaghetti.
Mom spaghetti.
Arms are sweaty. That's not even the right lyric.
Palms are sweaty.
Palms are sweaty, not arms.
Anyways.
Well,
Yeah.
somebody's arms are sweaty.
I
Okay.
feel like it makes sense to start off with like your beginning journey of like why you got into youth ministry in the first place.
Oh
and
my.
kind of
Yeah,
maybe
right
back
into
to
it.
the very, very beginning.
Right into like where I got kicked out of church. Awesome.
Sure.
That'd be a great place to start. I was hoping you'd talk about that.
that's-
Yeah.
Like, actually.
Okay. So, I mean, realistically, I've been active in youth ministry probably since my middle school days. So, like 7th grade.
Do you want to disclose how old you are now?
Very old. I have a walker.
No, he doesn't. He's
not
being
true.
I'm in
Rude.
physical therapy.
Okay, that's actually true.
That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm a boomer. No,
You
I'm
are not.
Jason.
Aren't you like 31?
I am 31. I am a
Okay.
bleeding
You just
millennial.
exposed him.
I did.
Well,
Yeah,
I
you
didn't
did.
think he would.
No, I'm 31. No,
Okay.
I'm super cool with that because as my body may feel 31, I do not act or feel 31. I'm a child at heart.
As
What?
you should
I'd
be.
agree with
As
Yeah.
as like why youth ministry is like a passion, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. We were just talking to another ministry friend on Sunday about like fashion styles. I feel like I still fit like I'm not old yet.
I can see
Yeah,
that. Your
like-
outfit tonight is giving
Hardcore millennial vibes, right?
Yeah.
kind of, yeah.
Yeah, like the Aeropostale
Mhm.
logo with the If I had a puka necklace, or is it puka necklace? You know what I'm talking about? Like
What are you talking about?
Yeah. Okay. This is millennial stuff.
Yeah, I think that just aged you.
A lot. A lot. All right. So I was active in youth ministry like as a middle schooler, and pretty much all the way through my high school years until about my sophomore year. We went on a mission trip to Washington, D.C. And when we got back from Washington, D.C., I got the news like 2 days later that our youth minister had left, like the parish that I belonged to, right? And I didn't think that was real, but like everybody kept saying, yeah, he's gone, he left. And when it became a reality, I was like, well, what's next? Because like Vacation Bible School is like next week.
Oh.
Literally next week, Vacation Bible School. And I'll never forget, like, they recruited 2 of the oldest tenured like Catholic school teachers to run this Vacation Bible School. And my buddies and I at the time were like, nah, we'll take care of the whole thing. And these sweet old women are like, oh, really bless your heart. Like, it was the best week ever. Like, I was 16 years old at the time. And so like my buddies and I, like I was in charge of the crew leaders. My other buddy was in charge of like the check-in table administratively, like making sure the day operates. Another of us was in charge of like the skit. Like we all like divvied up the responsibilities. And like that year was like a sailboat theme. Like every youth ministry thing always involves a boat and water. I don't know why. But anyway. Like we had to go on the roof and raise the mast every morning. Like that was like part of the thing. It was so fun. It was so fun. And so like that week was just really kind of like, yeah, like this is really cool. Like we're gonna pick up right where our youth minister left off, everything he taught us, like that we treat each guest as if it were Jesus himself, and whether they're Catholic, not Catholic, or like we're a non-believer, whatever it may be, like we welcome them. They belong here. We have always had that mentality of like ecumenicism, like just welcoming everybody. And that fall, the church hired a brand new youth minister. The guy was honestly like 23, which is ironic for a lot of reasons. And just became Catholic that previous April. Like was a brand new convert. Yeah. Super Catholic. I mean like super, super Catholic.
Dang.
And I would use different language now than I would then. Like I would look and say that guy had like zero relationship skill whatsoever. Like could not hold a conversation, socially awkward individual, but had the theology, a very traditional theology, if you will. And so he started programming, and the program started to tank, like fast, hard and fast. Like a youth group that used to have like 20 or 30 like teenagers we were down to like, we were pushing 13, maybe 15. Not that numbers matter in youth ministry. Everybody, people will kind of tell you like, hey, numbers matter. That's how you tell you're successful. I once had that mindset in life. Now I don't. The older I got, it's about the quality of relationship and the quality of like, you know, that relationship that God desires with us. But then for once upon a time, like numbers is a big deal. And I would say there's a lot of churches in our like local area who would argue like numbers are how you know you're successful. So going back to the numbers, like 13 to 15, you know, is where we were at. And, you know, we were doing a lot of things completely different. Like Eucharistic adoration was introduced with no background of what it was. Like we just like all of a sudden people started kneeling on the ground and there was this big gold thing with a white cracker. Obviously that's terrible theology, right? Like that is absolutely horrendous. But like as a teenager, it's like, what's this white cracker doing in this gold thing? And why are people kneeling and bowing and crying? Well, like, what is this? I wouldn't want to be a part of it either, kind of thing, right? Because it wasn't explained. And then, you know, they're doing the rosary, which is fine. Like that's a personal devotion. Like it's not mine, but it is a devotion of our faith. Like, and all of a sudden, like we used to do praise and worship all the time, like good 90s, 2000 praise and worship, like the good stuff. That's just because I'm old.
No, I agree.
No, the 90s and 2000s are like, that was praise and worship. And then it like took a dump for a while. And then like, now it's like, okay again. Like it's tolerable again. Like we're doing stuff now that like, it's okay. All of a sudden we were like doing Gregorian chant. Like, what is this?
What?
This is just happening in our youth group, right? And I'm like, and so like another buddy and I would like visit the youth ministry and be like, hey, like, can we just like talk to you about some concerns we have? And the dude would just sit and type on his computer and type like everything we were saying. And I'm going to make fun of him. Like, this is not nice, but like he'd sit there and chew his sleeve. I think it was because of like anxiety or something like that. But like his sleeve was always sopping wet. Like it was disgusting. No offense if you're listening, but it was gross. And he documented everything we ever said. And like we'd come back in like a couple weeks later and he goes, "Oh, last time we talked," and he'd literally pull up like the cliff notes of our conversation. Very odd. Just stating our concerns about what youth group at like this church was turning into. And one time in December, like I was there late because like I had to watch my sister before my parents got home, kind of thing. And I walk in and, you know, it's like, hey, everybody. But it was during this adoration quiet time, of course. Couldn't have been any other time. Loud Jason comes in the room and, hey! So he pulls me aside that night and says, you know, Jason, I have to tell you, this just isn't working. You know, like you don't really fit in here. You're by far the most ignorant, irresponsible, immature, and arrogant teenager I've ever met. And you are no longer welcome in any leadership capacity at this church.
What?
Like I love the reaction. Like, if I may add, like my wife is just in here. So like she knows this whole story, and you guys are just like, what? She's just like, yeah, this really happened, because it did happen. And he took away all my leadership things that like I was ever involved in, like Vacation Bible School and Children's Liturgy of the Word, singing in the choir, playing piano, being a leader for youth group or faith formation, or all these things I was a part of that were like a key part of my identity. And like, that's exactly what you would want in a teenager, right? Like I spent all my time at the church. Like that's what I did. I wasn't part of any school activities or clubs or sports like that. You know, I had a job and I spent the other time I spent at church. Like that's where I belonged. And I knew I had my community there. And, he also went as far to say, you know, the pastor has my back. He agrees with my decision in this. And we don't want you running the soundboard at Mass because there's a fear that you'll retaliate during liturgy.
What?
Oh,
they just made this assumption?
Yes, that is, yeah, exactly. So like every 16-year-old boy, what do you think I did? I was sitting on a stool. I got up and I flipped the stool at him and dropped a very unkind word that I'm not allowed to say because of the NDA I signed. And I was just weeping. Everybody knew in the hallway, like after like I left the youth room at that church, like I just was weeping. And everybody's like, "What's wrong?" I was like, "I gotta go. Like I don't belong here. Like I overstayed my welcome. Like I don't get what happened." Like I just was like, I almost wanted you to say the word fired. I might have used the word like I've been like fired from here, even though like I didn't have a job there.
Yeah.
You know? And I remember driving to like the store, the local grocery store where I worked and where my mom also worked, like overnights while she was in school. And I came in, she just knew instantly something was horribly wrong. Like that, like, you know, when you like know something bad has happened, like a death in a family, except like, it's that same look, but like it was kind of a death in a sense for me because it's like I literally just lost everything that I had, like that key part of my identity.
How long had that youth minister been working at the church before this happened? Like, was this over the course of like weeks or months or?
3.5 months.
Okay.
Yeah, 3.5 months. Absolutely bonkers.
Yeah. That's crazy, like the switch.
Yeah. And so like every good parent, I'm not saying my mom is a helicopter parent. Love you, Mom. But also like she totally came to come to bat for me. Like she totally came to my defense, marched into the pastor's office. It was like, what are you doing? Like, what the heck? And he stood by his youth minister. He did. He stood by him. I have thoughts about that. We can come back to that later if we want to, like revisit. Like I have thoughts on that. At the time, like WTF? Like what are you doing? But like my mom like shook, like I could just picture her. I wasn't there for this. Like I just picture her shaking her finger. You just wait. He's gonna be the next big leader in the church. He's gonna be leading a parish. He's gonna be a youth minister, and someday he's gonna be like up running a diocese with a bishop. Like you just wait. He's gonna be the next big thing in the church, and you missed it.
I mean, that's kind of true.
Well,
that's funny.
I mean,
isn't that phenomenal? Like that's so great. Who would have thought that? Like that was 2010. It is now 2025. We're not far from that. Like I would say we're like there. Yeah, God's good. I can't really take credit for that because like it just one thing always led to another in like this journey.
So once you got kicked out, then you started your own youth ministry, right?
Yeah.
Your youth group.
Yeah, there was 3 of us on the project.
Okay. And that was like soon after?
So, this was December of 2010.
Okay.
So one of my buddies at the time actually had a job there. Like work there, like was a custodian, would set up for school, like set up the gym for school mass. Not school mass. Mass on a Sunday was at the school because the archdiocese had a policy of like all buildings have to be handicap accessible, like to attend mass.
Okay.
Similar to like the diocese, like where we live, like there's that policy of like you need to have accessibility in your building, right? Like handicap accessibility, it's a must. And so that's why one of the masses was at the school, and so like it was his job to set up all the chairs, the music, the AV, all of it. And so like he had an office, and we started like plotting and planning, like what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? We have to do something. Like there's so many people who need like that desire God and like we know have a relationship with God, but like feel so turned off and hurt by what have just happened. And so we started plotting what would it look like if we operated our own youth group or youth ministry and we met at people's houses, like and met in people's living rooms, and like what would the structure look like? And then like, oh, what if so and so made the slides and like you plan the speaker? Like what if we did something completely different? We need to be innovative, something different. What if we met at the same time? This was terrible hindsight. What if we met at the same time as the current youth group does on a Sunday night as a direct competitor? That didn't last long. I will tell you, that was good that it didn't last long, but it did prove a point. And so we started plotting this in his office. And so, and then we reached out to the Lutheran youth minister across town, say, hey, we want you to come speak at our first youth group. Here's the situation. He agreed to it. He's a Lutheran youth minister. Well, word got out that this was happening. It leaked. Like every teenager, like things just don't get held in. I don't know who leaked it. I don't know how it got out. It might have been me. I actually don't know that. Like I would have to like ask my buddies at the time, like, how do you think this got out? Because I don't know who it would have been.
Because was your community pretty small? It wasn't like
no,
tiny.
I would say it was about the size of the community that I currently live in. Like about the same size in town.
Okay.
So
not like a big city, but like a decent sized city.
I don't know, 15,000, 16,000.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
And once the word got out, people started losing their marbles. Like, people panicked. It got so bad. Even the old people knew about it.
Oh no.
The people who are 1 foot on Earth and 1 foot onto the next life, like, they knew about it. I say that with such respect because I'll never forget the woman in the walker that came and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, this is what happened." And the funny thing is, she supported us. But like, she just was like, "I'm so concerned of what this division's going to do to the church, but I love you, and I saw you every week."
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. But anyway, so one of the moms invites me to lunch. It was New Year's Day, and she takes me to Culver's and tries to talk me out of it. So just come back; it'll resolve. Just say you're sorry and let's forgive and forget. Like, I know what they did was wrong, but what you did was wrong also. You shouldn't swear at a youth minister and throw your stool at them. And you're like, this is a good thing. You're blowing this out of proportion. I said, no, I don't really think I am. Well, you're not even going to make it 3 months. You're all going to turn on each other. It's going to implode. This is a mortal sin. You're turning away from the Catholic Church. I said, no, lady, listen up.
You did not say that.
I can't. I signed an NDA. I can't say names. But I did, though, because I was a bratty 16-year-old. There's part of me, like, I mean, I was very cocky. I mean, the arrogant part might have been true. Might have been slightly true.
I could see that for a 16-year-old Jason.
Yeah.
I could see that.
There's parts of that where it still exists. Like, I'm still a little cocky. And I can acknowledge that. And that's... I don't know. Again, if we want to revisit that, we can. But at the time, I was like, okay, listen up. I said, we are going to do this. We're going to go forward with this plan. We're going to meet in people's houses. We're going to love on everybody, regardless of what you think. And I'm going to participate in Catholic worship in a different town. Like, I have an adoration time picked out. Like, I'm just going to prove to you, like, when you tell me no, I'm going to prove you, like, I'm going to prove you wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you tell me no, I'm going to go out of my way to prove you wrong and prove that, yes, we can, or yes, I can. And that's, that's been a crutch, like, my whole ministerial career. Like, if you tell me no, I'm going to go prove you wrong. And I don't know how or why, but that has been true almost every place I've been, except the most recent place. Like, I haven't had a negative experience in the past 4 years at my current position at all.
Mm-hmm.
There's been, like, rebuilding phases, and there's been, like, transition struggles, but, like, it has not been as challenging and, like, yeah, like, anywhere else. So
yeah,
but yeah, we did that, and I'll never to just follow up that story. We met on January 2nd, 2011 for the very first time in a living room, kind of like this, and the Lutheran youth minister comes in, pulls us boys aside, and says, "Hey, I want you to know, like, tonight's message is all about, we're going to love on each other. We're going to put aside the anger and the hurt." He goes, "But I want you to know I'm taking a risk here. I've received death threats from the Catholic Church."
What?
And that, like, threats that, like, I'm stealing the kids and that they're going to come after me in my home. And this is all real. This is all how screwed up the situation really. Yeah, no, this is all 100% real. And he goes, "But our message tonight is love." And I'll never forget, like, the 17 people gathered in the room. Like, there were so many tears of, like, just hurts being out in the open and everybody just loving and support. It became a community so fast. And that community lasted for 3.5 years. From 2011, January 2nd, 2011, I would say even till July of 2014.
I just got goosebumps.
Like,
Are you still connected with these people? Like,
not really, no. No, I would say no. Some unfortunate, some, you just grow up. I don't know.
Yeah. Have you talked to that original youth minister since then?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I think I'm friends with them on Facebook still. I hate to say this, and this is going to sound super... He was fired a year later.
Oh.
Like, totally like...
Yeah.
When you have something that explosive happen and where you really divide the whole parish community,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like that's not a great way to start.
No, and I felt... And again, as a 31-year-old old man, I feel slightly empathetic. Like, he was dealt a bad hand.
Mm-hmm.
Like, brand new to the Catholic faith, and we're going to stick that guy in one of them, what I would argue one of the church's most important roles. Just doesn't seem like a great setup for success, in my opinion. Like, I wouldn't. And that's funny, again, because I was like 20, 21 when I had my first professional position. So, but I also been a lifelong Catholic too. So,
yeah. So after that so that was like your first experience with a youth ministry community. Like, how many different jobs or parishes have you been working with youth ministry in?
how many jobs or different youth ministries have I been in?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was part of, I think I can say, like, One Way. That was the name of our youth group. I was part of that from 2011 to 2014. And then I was at another parish from fall of 2014 to the summer of 2021.
Oh, that's a long time. Okay.
There was a long stint. And now, don't get me wrong, like, I did some extra youth ministry in the town over from the town where I grew up in. And then I was we're doing music ministry at a parish not far from.
Yeah, and that second place is where I met Jason. Because one of the mission trips that I went on, actually, was the only mission trip I've ever been on. Jason was one of the leaders. And so, like, that was where I met Jason. And yeah, I feel like you just have such a good light, and like, you're just like so fun, and you relate to like the youth so well.
Well, I appreciate that. That's very kind.
Yeah. And so I feel like that's just a really good, think you've talked about before, like, just establishing a relationship with the students and the youth is a really good way to like bring them in to like teach them about Jesus, which like maybe you could talk more about later. But I feel like that's something that you really have a gift at.
Well, thank you. No, I would concur that is definitely like a gift God has given me. Like, it is just that reaching out and communicating, and it might be like some of my like woohoo, like woo factor. But and the fact that I love to connect and tell stories, like, it's a lot of fun. Like, I love doing it. And then I've been in my current position since summer of 2021.
Okay.
So
I have a question related back to something you said a lot earlier.
Earlier.
Yeah.
That was a lot.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
How deep are we in?
I don't even know.
We're at 27 minutes.
Whoa.
That
Ouch.
was a lot.
That's okay.
Will you have
Ouch. Yeah. Wow, that was a lot. I am so sorry to your listeners. You're never going to have another guest ever again.
I was so invested.
I know.
Sure they will be too.
Yeah. This is good. Good content.
Yeah. So a while ago you mentioned like numbers as being like the success in youth ministry, but it seemed like that wasn't what you thought success was. So I'm kind of curious, like, in youth ministry, what do you see as like successful when you're like working in your different jobs that you've done?
Yeah, I think you grow you evolve as you like grow, right? So like in the early days of like One Way, I saw success in numbers. Like, oh, we filled the living room with like 30 or 40 people. Like, heck yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that was like, and I think, again, younger, a little more spiteful, had something to prove. You know what I mean? Like, you told me, no, I can't do this. I'm going to tell you I can. Here's 30 examples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds awful. But like, it's coming from a good,
yeah.
It's coming from a good place.
Yes.
Now I would say success is when you can connect with a young person and establish mutual trust in a relationship. And like, there's so many examples I could give of this as of recent in like my current position. Like, after our Waldo event, like, I went to a basketball game with some friends to support two teenagers that I know are like on our peer ministry team. Like, it made their day. Like, they didn't explicitly say it, but like, you could tell, because they wanted to come visit us afterwards while the boys were playing their game. And like, we took a picture together. It was super cute. And like, you can just tell because then they're apt to do other things with you. And then like the other night we had youth group. There was a young person there, no idea who they were, like, not a clue. I had to ask for their name before I went to go sit next to this person. Like, hey, can I pray with you? And like, as I'm praying, like, I just, I'm just saying the things, right? I'm not really thinking about it, just kind of letting God kind of take over, Holy Spirit kind of thing. And I look up and this like girl's just crying, and I'm like, I don't even know who you are. and she's like, can I give you a hug? I'm like, yeah, of course. And it was just like this really sweet, powerful moment of like, I didn't really do anything. Like I was there. Mm-hmm. And like obviously when I say I didn't know her, like I know of her. Like I know her. Like she's been coming to youth group, but like I didn't
have a relationship with her or anything.
Right. Like and that was like a stepping point. Like that is success. Like to share the love of God with others, like that is what's successful. It could be one or two. Jesus started with where 2 or 3 are gathered, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just like kind of goes out from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I will say I saw that for the listeners. I saw that whole thing happen.
Yeah, Kelly was there.
Jason and the girl. And like, I think it's so like powerful. Like you don't even realize what you're doing. Like you just literally being there for her was like all she needed. And I think that's the cool part about youth ministry is like you don't even recognize how much you impact the kids. And like even I was singing it, I was like, I'm not even like a kid, like I'm 22. And I was like, this is so cool. Like it was definitely a God moment. So I think that's something that I've noticed just seeing you in youth ministry as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really cool to be like a part of it.
Yeah.
Like I'm not the one doing it. Like I'm just there.
You're the vessel.
Yeah. There's a composer that wrote like, that would say that. Like Steve Angersano would say like, you are the vessel, like carrying the body of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like that's a really cool perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Megan and I have a running joke about the vessel.
We always say, "Make me a vessel" from the song "New Wine."
Okay. I don't know what that is.
Okay. We'll be listening to it after this. After this podcast. Thank you. Isn't it by Hillsong?
Yeah.
Hillsong Worship?
I would sing it, but
why don't you sing it?
Nope.
Why don't you drop some bars here?
No, that's for our vault.
Yeah, we'll be doing that after the podcast. Thank you.
When do I get to see the vault?
You can pay for a subscription.
See it?
Oh my gosh, that sounds wrong. That just doesn't sound right.
Let's take it back. We take it back.
Okay, never mind.
Oh wait, I'm not.
We'll start over. Hi, welcome to the.
Welcome back. Okay. This is M&K and Scripted.
Can we talk about M&Ms for a second? Like, I just grabbed a few M&Ms. I realized I was just about to eat them, and I was told I'm not allowed to eat while we do this. So
you can eat them. It's fine.
Okay,
you're like the main talker here, so
I know. So I won't eat them.
What you will.
That's what I'm saying. Comment if you think Jason should have eaten the M&Ms and that you wanted to hear him chew.
That's disgusting.
That's what I'm saying. There's gonna be no.
People should have to pay for that.
Make a meme about that later.
Yeah,
wow.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
This is kind of a 2-part question, so you can start with either one. What's your favorite part about being a youth minister and your least favorite part about being a youth minister?
I'll start with the least favorite because that's a really easy answer. I hate the administrative crap that comes with my job.
Like what?
Email, reconciling transactions, staff meetings, committee meetings, subcommittee meetings, committee for the bathroom committee. I'm kidding, that doesn't exist.
I was like, huh?
I hate committees. I hate meetings. I spend all my time in them, and I could be like at school having chicken nuggets with some kids. Like that is like administrative stuff just irks me. And,
what percentage of your job is administrative, and what percent is like you with kids?
That's a good question. I don't know how to answer that.
Okay. But it's a decent chunk.
It's a decent chunk. It's annoying enough. And some of it it's like blended too, because like some of the administrative stuff is following up with adult leaders or like teenagers. Like, hey, did you create the post for this week's youth group? Or do I have to do it? Mm-hmm. Is this planned or is this done? Or do I have to? What do I need to do? How can I support you? How can I pray for you? How can I do X, Y, Z? That's not the annoying part. Like I'll pray for anybody who asks, but like just like the administrative, like sending an email and like tracking permission slips and medical forms and money. I hate working with money. I'm not good at it. I stink at math. I'm in ministry for a reason. Like it. Yeah, I would gladly hand it off to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's the worst part. I think the best part is what Kelly kind of alluded to is like what happened at youth group on Sunday night. Like that opportunity to pray with a bunch of teenagers, like just for their needs and what they're struggling with, what they're going through, what their joys are. And like to be goofy with them and go on trips with them. Like that is the best. To be able to share the gift that I was given as a teenager that Jesus wants a relationship with you, and that these 2 high schoolers cared about me enough to share that with me. That fire is like it's like burned in me ever since, and I want to share that with others. Like, that is the best part. Like, that's what gives me my drive, is like stuff like experiences and encounters like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do enjoy going to like activities. Like, I wish I could do more of that. Like, I was invited to a football game this past fall, a 9th grade football game, and like he was so excited I was there, and like I knew so many people there, like, and then of course you get the looks. Oh my gosh, the looks you get, like, oh my gosh, the youth minister's here. Like, somebody from the church is here. Oh my goodness, behave, everybody. It is kind of funny. Like, there is a little bit of that. But like, I'm a normal human being who is not perfect, who is full of sin, and does occasionally have a potty mouth. Like, I'm right with
you.
I'm right there with the parents. Like, I'm right there. Like, I'm a real one.
Okay, so you talk about all these different things that you're doing. So I want to talk about work-life balance.
I don't have any.
Well, I'm just curious, like, what?
Well,
like,
we know
obviously,
that.
like, you don't. It doesn't seem like you have a 9 to 5. So, like, how do you allocate your time?
It's a craft.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always perfect, but it's a craft. We'll use it. What kind of metaphor do I want to use? No, I'm not going to use that metaphor. No, but it is a craft. I mean, it is a balance of like, okay, we'll use it like a cocktail. Like, when you're making a cocktail, if one little thing is off, the whole drink is terrible. And so like, it's all about like balancing your like profiles of like sweet to sour to ice to whatever, right? And so we do our best, and thankfully, my wife, my first vocation, knew what she was getting into. She knew exactly, she was the one. She watched me go through a lot of this, because we're high school sweethearts. So like, she watched.
Aww.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We could pause for that, I guess. But like, especially senior year, like where I really realized like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Like, I want to sit in an office. I want a spinny chair. I want a laptop, and I want to tell everybody about Jesus. Like, that's what I want to do. And she was very supportive of that from day one, knowing like how important it was. And like, she definitely saw a gift, like, in that regard. There's one story I'm going to tell because it is really funny. There was one time in 2016, before we were married, where I was in Minneapolis with the diocese in which we live. And there was a medical incident like that night where there's a bunch of adult leaders that had to go take care of something. And I was stuck with like 20 high schoolers in Minneapolis at a playground. And Brittany happened to be there too. And we're like coming back. It was time to go back because it was time to prepare for like the evening prayer or whatever. And we're coming back, and there's kids screaming in the streets, "Jason's daycare," and clapping, "Jason's daycare." And she's just staring, and she's like, "How? Why? What? Why? I never want to do this. Like, this is all you. Like, I love you and I love what you do, but like, I could never do what you're doing right now, walking down the streets with 20 teenagers screaming and yelling like, "Jason's the coolest," and singing songs and just like drawing complete attention to ourselves. So she knew what she was getting into, like 100% knew. And I think at that moment though, like, she also realized like, I'm really good at this. Like, and so that support was really helpful. And so like, we just, between the kids and like, and marriage and like ministry, we work our schedule out in a way that isn't always convenient. Like, people would look at us and say, "Jason, you're always working. Where's your work-life balance, man?" Or, "Your car was at the church parking lot until like 12:30 a.m. and or like, it's not true because the alarm goes off at 11. But but like, or like, "Oh, you have your laptop at home," or like, "Do you ever have time?" Like, yeah, of course we do. Like, we play games and watch. Like, I used to like watch Twins baseball and like plan like weekend masses. Like, I would plan like liturgies upon liturgies, like people that would affect like hundreds of people in a weekend, like based on the song and the readings. and here I'm watching a baseball game in the background. Like, I am balancing. And you're just, there's certain times where it's like, okay, you know, I don't feel like I can work right now. We're gonna hang out. We're gonna, you know, watch whatever TV show we're watching, and or maybe we're gonna have a snack, or you know what, we're gonna go to the park. We'll compromise. Like, our kids are our kids are so well loved. Like, at our church, like, they are so welcome. Like, they come in the office, and like, our pastor is like super loving and kind, and like just loves both kids, and they feel safe there. Like, that's also just like a great perk. So yeah, it balances out. We're doing great. And I always, there's two phrases we use like in our household, or like I should say one key phrase we use in our household is that God has always worked. Why would he stop now? Like, he's always worked in our lives. Why would he stop amidst the challenge, like the busyness, the stressfulness? Because and there's been plenty of that, especially at my previous assignment, and also like with Brittany and her role. Like, there is stressful times, like, but like everything else, like the church, there's a season of busyness, but yet there's that ordinary time where things are kind of still and ordinary, if you will. But another phrase that I've been using a lot the past couple of years is like, I feel like as a church sometimes we fail, and people will disagree with me on this, and that's fine. This is probably one of the most controversial things I'll say all night. But I believe like the church fails, like at the sense, like, you know, they just, what's an example I want to use? We're not meeting the demands of the gospel. Like, we just say, well, that's enough. Like, we this is our limitation. But I'm always like, how do we move beyond that limitation? Like, to meet the demands of like helping people know who Jesus is, and that like Jesus desires a relationship with them. And that's hard work. But that also is like when Jesus says, leave everything behind, like, do that. But like, we're going to do it together. Like, everything, a lot of the ministry like that I do, especially with young adults, because I'm not just a youth minister, I do stuff for 18 to 39-year-olds as well. Like, I try to integrate like our family. Like, we're doing it together. We're going to meet the demands of the gospel together. It's not I'm doing it. Like, I have teams, I have family, I have friends that help support that mission and that drive, which keeps me going, honestly.
So I'm curious. So obviously your job as a youth minister is to like get people excited about Jesus. I'm sure like as a Catholic, like I haven't always been like the best in my faith, and I don't know, like, you don't have to get too personal, but I'm just curious, like, if there have been like valleys in your faith, and how you still like, I don't know, do your job, I guess, and still like.
Yeah, I think we could take that under a microscope. I would say from the summer of 2017 to even the summer of 2021, those were, I would say, the deepest valleys, right? I mean, like, I just think those were some of the most stressful, draining, just awful, absolutely awful. But also, like, in my personal life, they're some of the brightest moments of my life. It's when we welcomed our first child, our second child, bought our first home, had to get a car. Like, what the heck? Like, we had a car die like a week before, or 2 days before our second child was born.
Oh,
that's horrible.
And then I ended up with hand, foot, mouth.
Oh,
ew.
Yeah, ew.
That's horrible.
So like, I wore a mask before it was cool. Like, just saying. I I was in the delivery room with like gloves, like a mask, and a full gown. Like, it just it was what it was. Like, it was wild. But yet these are like also the happiest like years of my life. But like, it also became professionally the most stressful, sad, and depressing. Yet at the same time, there was highlights in those ministry years, because I met people like Megan, and we took amazing mission trips. We did amazing things. Like we were, not, again, going back to the numbers, not that it mattered, but we were getting to a point before COVID, 50 or 60 middle schoolers and high schoolers gathering on a Wednesday night because they wanted to, and it was a safe space for them to be. Like, that's awesome. That's super great. But professionally, we had a business administrator who was just so micromanagey. It was a disaster. Like, had no concept of ministry whatsoever. And talk about like work life balance, like to have friends, like holy buckets. Like the thing that we have going on now, it's not so much friendship, it's more family. Like we just didn't have that. And like we talk about all the time, like what would that have been like in my earlier days, like when we were really going through it. But like then I was also the faith formation director, youth minister, music director, and liturgist. And just really kind of holding the whole community. Like I was carrying them on my back. Now I am just as busy, if not twice as busy. I'm in really high demand, but also like, I also gotta be honest, I make a lot of time for my friends. Like I go out of my way to like, hey, we're watching the football game tonight. Or like, somebody says, hey, you want to come over, drop, and I'll look at Brittany and like, should we drop everything? And just like, let's go. Cause like, those are our people, like those are the people that we love, and they, we love them. They love us. It's our community. It's our family. Everybody is so important to us that like it's worth dropping some of those things, despite knowing like I have to make slides for tomorrow night's club, or I have to, which I do have to do, or a postcard, or send emails to this person, or like those are the things like I've gotten to a point where I drop those types of things. I totally pay for it later. Not gonna lie to anybody, I totally pay for it later, but it still was worth spending the time with the people that we love.
Yeah, I feel like your intentionality is something that you do so well. Like you're just so good at like bringing people in, and like I know you can speak for it too. I know like Kelly's talked about like our experience with like the young adult group and like all the friends that we've met in the last couple months, and I feel like you're like the ringleader of that, and just like like just being able to like make a community like that where strangers can like walk up and just feel welcome and like feel like a part of that family is just like so special, and that is such a gift.
It's super fun.
Oh, this is such a wholesome podcast. I can't. Do you have questions?
Well, maybe we could end on like, this will put you on the spot. I don't know if you have any that you haven't shared yet, like fun stories from any of your time ever as a youth minister, or like some memorable things that could be fun to share.
Oh my gosh.
They don't necessarily have to be funny, but they could be.
Oh man, that is really, because there's so many categories you could pick from. The sentimental, the wow God, and like the just ridiculously funny. Like I could name one for each place.
You could go ahead.
I don't think we have all night.
Okay, well maybe 2.
Okay,
that's fine. We have time for 2.
Man, that is really hard. I think I'll go way back to the first time that like the sentimental, like wow God, that was nuts. So I talked about this past Sunday, like we had youth group, and we were praying over kids. Like that was a tradition that like it actually comes from an organization called YouthWorks. That totally stole that idea. Every good youth minister, like you heard it here first, copy and paste from somebody else.
I've heard you say that before.
Yeah, every good youth minister like takes somebody else's idea and replicates it, or like in my case, I always find a way to try to make it different or maybe better. Not saying that it's always like better, but like I'm going to try to do something different with it. But YouthWorks, like on the last day of your mission trip, your leaders grab a bucket of water and they read the gospel of John 13, where Jesus gets down and washes disciples' feet in service, just like we had been serving all week. And so like leader washes the students' feet, and then like says, hey, can I pray over you? And then they pray. And it's a very emotional night. One, probably because we're exhausted, but also like it's just a meaningful experience. Like you're recounting what Jesus had done for his disciples, and students are usually feeling like, I was a disciple of Jesus this week. I saw Jesus in all these people, right? And so it's a really powerful moment to feel like your adult leader who loves and cares about you is washing your feet. And so we brought this tradition to One Way in 2011, and we're planners. Like my buddies and I, we were totally planning. Like we were watching people come through the door. Like, okay, I'll pray over this person. There was a couple people that walked in. I'm like, who are these people? What are their names? And they're like, And they all did like the nose goes. Like, nah, you got to do it. I'm like, okay, well, do we have a name? Like, do we know anything? And so I had one of these people, and I went to go pray over them, wash their feet, prayed over them. And as I'm praying, it wasn't as extreme as like this past Sunday, but like just shaking. And after done praying, and they are just bawling. They are cannot hold it together. Literally cannot hold it together. Now, this person had a lot of like health stuff early on in their childhood, and afterwards, we like one of the things we like, hey, go hug it out with everybody here. Like, this is our community. Like, let's go share a sign of peace with one another through a hug, handshake, whatever. And gave them a big hug, and they said like, hey, like, I just have to tell you, thank you. Like, this is everything I had ever been looking for. Like, I had plans to go home and like just end it all. Like, this is it.
I just got goosebumps again.
like I've wanted a place where I belonged for so long. And I think I finally found it here. And they kept coming back and coming back and coming back. And they were eventually on leadership or like pure ministry, and they met their future spouse there, and just amazing, like absolutely amazing. Like, I got to be a part of that. Like, I didn't do anything, I was just there, but I got to be a part of it. So that was just one of those like, wow, like, this is nuts. I was like 17.
Oh my gosh!
Like, just to like handle that as a 17-year-old is like nuts.
Insane.
Yeah. Man, there were like, and then the countless mission trips we took in my second assignment, if you were, second place that I was. There's so many funny things that like taking oranges and rolling them out the window, like at one of the sites, because the one of the towns, the hills were so steep, and so we'd try to race. We'd have fruit races. So like after service, going to like the Y to shower, we'd all roll down. Everybody had a fruit in their hand, and I would just accelerate. This sounds terrible. Catholic Mutual, do not listen. I would accelerate a little bit to like get momentum going down the hill, and I'd say 1, 2, 3, drop your fruit. And so I'd keep driving, and like the kids would have to tell me which fruit was winning, as like racing the car and the fruit. Or the time that we got bridged in this town, and we did a 3-car Chinese fire drill. I ended up driving my buddy's car, my best friend's car, and he got in mine, but he's never driven a 9-gear before. And so like he jolted all the way back to and I was driving his little beater at the time back to the housing site, and people just couldn't believe that we were doing that. Most recently, at my new assignment in 2022, we took a mission trip to the same town, and these kids were like the kids from like, where. They were little brats. And one of the evening activities was going out on the town, and I'll never forget, like, they went up to a waiter at a restaurant and said, "Oh, are you a waiter? You must be poor. Here's a $20 bill." I wanted to die. Literally wanted to die. It's also the same night where a middle school student and I were in like a novelty like gift shop, and like there's all these like tourist sunglasses, like I heart blank, and like whatever, right? And these sweatshirts, and all of a sudden we get to a glass counter, and there's like these pink like fuzzy handcuffs, and like the little feather and a blindfold, and this kid's like, "What's this for?" I think I'm gonna buy. No. And these kids were just obnoxious. And 2 of my friends went back to the parking lot and they had enough. And they left me with all these like bratty kids who were like screaming like, "You're poor and we're rich." And they started driving. My buddy started driving away. I said, no, take me with you. And so they roll down the window, and they're still driving. And I do a full like Olympic dive into the moving vehicle with the window open. My legs are hanging out as they're moving, and I left the kids behind.
Oh, no.
They obviously brought me back, but like I jumped in a moving vehicle to get away from these kids. If that didn't tell you how the week was going, like that's it in a nutshell. Well, of course, that night we're sharing our yay gods and like a highlight from your day. One of our kids decides to go, my highlight of the day is watching our adult leaders jump through a moving vehicle to get away from us and left us behind. In front of all the other churches, all of the other staff. And this is where this phrase comes from. So if you're friends with me, you'll get this reference. A church leader from Kentucky goes, well, I want to know more about that. And so the phrase, well, I want to know more about that stems from that.
We've definitely said that on the podcast before.
So, yeah, those are just some of the funny, like, mission trip moments. I mean, there's been other just things that are just amazing.
That's
like,
so
I love
fun.
what I do. It's so fun.
Yeah. So many different memories, it sounds like. Because you've been doing it for 15 years now.
Yeah. Oh, my God. What? Is it really? Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yikes.
2010. Yeah.
That is good math.
Yes.
Oof.
Yes. Good math.
I am not good at the other week I was doing a confirmation retreat. And I said, yeah, I've been married to my wife for, since 2016, which is about 5 or 6 years. And everybody out there is just looking at me and I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, try like 8 or 9 years. I'm like, yeah, that checks out. At least I remember when we got married and where.
That's true.
I definitely know our anniversary. Like, I can't screw that up.
And if you know the year, you can always do the math, unless you're Jason. And you can't
Unless you're Jason. That's the worst part. I looked at the year even and said, yeah, 5 years. Yeah. Was that the trip? You were on one of the trips, obviously, Megan. Was that the year, like, my cousin and I were teaching all the other churches how to play, like, blackjack and poker? But we tried to convince you, like, the other church from Iowa or North Dakota taught you and that we didn't teach you?
Something about that sounds familiar. I went in 2019, if that's helpful.
I don't know.
Okay.
The thing is, I'm getting that
2018.
confused with another res trip. Like, it was definitely 2 res trips.
Okay, 2019.
Yeah.
But
so 2017 was a res trip and 2019 was a res trip because we tried to do, like, Native American reservation and a big city every other year.
Yep.
So.
Yep. That sounds familiar, but also couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we didn't want to get blamed for teaching students about poker, so we said blame the church from Iowa. They taught you how to play this game. We did not.
That is funny. Yeah.
Well,
I suppose that's a good stopping point.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're at an hour.
Yeah.
Shoot,
That's
I'm
good.
so sorry.
No,
That's
this
kind of
is
fun.
good
People are
content.
going to hit unsubscribe.
But you're a
No.
guest, so I feel like they're going to want to hear a lot from you. They hear from us every week.
Yeah.
Well,
So it's
They
okay.
probably
Maybe.
get sick of us.
That's
or-
probably not true. We're fine.
Yeah, I mean,
you
we're
guys are
pretty cool.
so much fun.
Hey,
Although, no, I
it's not
actually meant that.
sarcastic.
That did sound really sarcastic, actually. I'm so sorry.
So much
Although,
fun.
I do want to, can we circle back to, like, last week's podcast? Or, like, whenever this gets, maybe it's 2 weeks, whenever this gets posted.
Sure.
I want to have the ranch discussion.
Oh,
I want to, like, because you're talking to somebody who loves ranch.
yeah.
And I'm really deeply offended that Kelly thinks ranch is not that great.
No. If we have it in not writing, in recording. I am not anti-ranch. I like ranch.
No, it just...
I just think there are weird scenarios like when
French fries and nuggets are not weird.
Yes.
Yeah,
No.
I saw
Okay.
Jason dipping French fries and nuggets into his ranch. I said there is ketchup.
No.
There
Nope.
is Chick-fil-A sauce.
Okay.
There
Nope.
is
Nope.
cane sauce.
I've had
And he chose ranch.
I've had several people reach out to me since we released
It's
that
not weird.
podcast saying fries and ranch are normal. One of my friends texted me and she was like, "Fries and ranch are normal."
No, I never.
By the
Every
way-
restaurant I go to, fries with ranch.
Mhm.
Yep.
See, I don't think it's abnormal. I just think it's wrong.
No, it's not. You're wrong.
Okay, well, that's
Like-
your opinion.
Yeah, you're allowed to have an opinion, but it is wrong.
We did not invite you on this podcast so you could just roast me.
Well,
What the
when
heck?
you open up the doors like that, I mean, it seems like fair game.
That's true, but we could do it off the podcast.
No, I feel like people wanted to hear this.
Yeah,
So
okay.
thanks for having
Fine.
me.
Yes.
This was super great.
Thank you so much, Jason.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank-
and to our
Sorry,
lovely
Kelly.
listeners. Kelly's sad now. She can go cry off the podcast.
We'll fight about it later.
Yeah. We'll fight about it now, maybe off.
Find the vault.
Yeah.
Okay, bye, friends. We love you.
Bye.